In this video, we will be talking about how Walrus Run works, how the controls work, what kind of settings you can customize, as well as a general overview of the game mechanics and other menu features. There have been plenty of instances during playtesting where people just didn't know how to move or how to jump or what exactly each menu button did, so this video is just going to be a general overview. You are not required to watch this video before you play the game, as the game does have a built-in guide, but it is here if you just need a little extra helping hand. It is recommended that you play the game blind, so that way you learn the controls for yourself first, but if you truly are stuck somewhere, then this video should be a good resource to help you get by. We will start by talking about the controls on Gamepad and the settings you can change, and then we will talk about the controls on Bongo controllers and the settings you can change with the bongos, and then we will do an overview of the game mechanics and how the game works. Let's go over the basic controls, starting with your generic gamepad here, which is most likely the controller you're going to use. On the default controls, you use the D-pad to move. And by D-pad, I mean the whole D-pad. Left, right, up, and down all contribute to moving left. And to move right, you use the face buttons. You press any of the 4 face buttons, or all of them, to move to the right. So that's all the D-pad to move left, and all face buttons to move right. You can also just spam one of each if you want. And to jump, as I showed you there, to jump, you press a move left button and a move right button. And in this case, that's going to be a D-pad button and a face button. So I'll do left D-pad and right face button, for example. You press both of those at the same time to jump. You can also hold one and press the other if you want. There's another movement mechanic, and that is dashing, which is going to be on your left and right triggers. Very simple. Left trigger will dash left and right trigger will dash right. This will give you a short burst of speed and will accelerate you quicker than just using the movement buttons here. So if I am at a standstill and I press right trigger, wrong button. There we go. I will now move faster. Not move faster, I am accelerating faster. Another neat thing about the dash is that you can also do it in the air. So if I jump, I can dash. The dash is on a 1 second cooldown, so after 1 second, even if you're still in the air, you can do another dash if you want, but generally, it'll be around when you land the ground. There. And you can also dash the other way if you're about to run into a pit of spikes or something like that. So, you can also jump and dash the other way, just like that. And this mechanic here is braking, which is very simple. It will stop you in place if you press the opposite move button. So you can use the face buttons to move right, like I showed you before, but if I press the D-pad, which is the opposite move button, I will initiate the braking sequence. So check this out. I will stop in place, and then if I move right, there you go. If you move in one direction and press the other movement button, you will stop in place, which is a very useful thing to do. Combined with the dash, you can even do this. Like that, okay? And the last mechanic is the bite, which is your attack. That's going to be on your shoulder buttons, LB and RB. You can press either one. You do not need to press both. It's a very simple blue sphere attack. And it's also a 3-hit combo, so 1, 2, 3, and then a short cooldown. You can do it again. You can also hold the button too if you want to do that. Okay? Let's take a look at the controls menu. When you boot up the game for the first time, this is what you will see. As you can see, these are the default controls on the left side of the screen here. You can see my mouse. D-pad moves left, face buttons move right, you got your dash buttons, and you have your bite button right here. That's on LB and RB, just shows one input, but you can do either button here, okay? And you can, of course, remap all of these buttons if you want, but there are also some presets. And the one I just described to you was the Goofy preset. And it's called Goofy because it's pretty weird, pretty absurd, you know? And if you're not comfortable with that control scheme, which I'm sure most people won't be, you can change it to something like modern. Now things are a little different, because you can use D-pad left to move left, and D-pad right to move right. just like every other platformer ever. And then things like a bite button and a jump button, you can assign 2 buttons, because bite was, well, on the bongos, bite is on the microphone, but you can map that to a button if you want. And the jump button, that was tied to move left and move right, which you can disable in this preset here, and just map a jump button. So if you don't like the goofy preset, which was this one, you can change it to modern, no problem. And even then, there's still some settings to tap on and on here. Like right here, in goofy mode, we were tapping the buttons over and over, mashing them if you will. You can change that to a hold or a tap once, whichever you want to do. Even though you're not on a custom preset, you can still change these settings, no problem. And you can also turn on the analog sticks. You can rotate the sticks, rotate the left stick and the right stick as if they were individual movement buttons, if you want to play like that. Otherwise, you can disable them, no problem. And then the modern, have some less options here, but same thing over here. You can change it from a tap to a hold. And move left and right. The jump is disabled because you have a jump button. Now let's take a look at custom, which is probably where you're going to be spending a lot of time because you get to remap controls here. On default, all these are left blank, so you can fill them in and pretty much map whatever you want. Let's just say, for example, you don't want 1 dash button. You know how we had 2 dash buttons for left trigger and right trigger? You can map that to 1 dash button, and it'll dash in whichever direction you're facing. So you'll have to turn around if you want to dash the other way, you know, if you're using a dash button. But you can also just disable that. So you don't need to have a dash button. You can just have 2 dash buttons, no problem. Same goes with the jump button as well. And yeah, so you can map whatever you want. So let's just say I can map Y and B. If you get an error like that, just hit the defaults. I'll explain that later. Y and B, like that, the dash right. And there you go. You have your custom controls right here. And the same goes for the keyboard as well. And here you can, you know, customize all these other settings here. So yeah. And at any point you want to reset your settings here, like let's just say you want to map dash right to Y, it'll give you an error because it's already in use. Just hit defaults and it'll basically erase your controls here and you'll have to remap them. Just be mindful of that when you remap your controls. And if you make a mistake, just press defaults to fix everything. Okay? And we will get to the bongo section in the next chapter of the video. Alright. It is bongo time. Now, first and foremost, you will need to get this bongo controller set up for Walrus Run. Not only to map the buttons, but also make sure your adapter is working correctly. So before you proceed with this chapter, make sure you check out my tutorial video on how to set up the bongo controller on PC for Walrus Run specifically. And once you have already done that, then you can come back to this chapter and learn how the controls work exactly, okay? When you start up the game, you are given this screen where you choose between bongo mode and controller mode. If you are in bongos, you select bongo mode because the bongo buttons are mapped to the face buttons, which means the face buttons will be used for navigation. That is essentially what bongo mode does. So make sure bongo mode is turned on only if you're using the bongos. If you are using anything else, then you can just use controller mode. So, when you're on that screen, make sure you have bongo mode selected. And you can verify this by pausing the game, going to controls, and checking the very first setting right here, which is bongo mode. And it's set to bongo mode, so we're good. So, let's talk about those controls. Alright? Something I should absolutely stress, because a lot of people don't know this, is that each pad has 2 buttons. And a microphone. But anyway, there's a lower half and a top half for each pad, which means 4 buttons total. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? And the microphone is responsible for the attack, which is why this keeps happening. But just ignore that. So anyway, just like a controller mode, on the default settings, you want to mash the buttons to move. That's going to be the lower left and lower right buttons. So lower left, you tap repeatedly to move. And lower right, tap repeatedly to move right. Okay, that's bottom left to move left, bottom right to move right. And you tap both of these buttons to jump. Like this, okay? Tap both of these buttons to jump. And you can also hold down one and press the other, like that. Okay. And then the next mechanic is dashing, which is going to be on the upper buttons right here. You have dash left on the top left button, and a dash right on the top right button, okay? And you can do it like this to avoid obstacles or to switch directions quickly, like that. And you can also do it in the air, just like that. Okay? Very simple. And then there is also the braking mechanic, which is tapping the opposite move button when you're moving in a direction. Okay, so let's just say I'm moving right, and then if I tap left one time, bam, I came to an immediate stop. That's what braking is. And then this beautiful blue sphere that keeps popping up is the clap. Sorry, the bite that is triggered by the clap. So the microphone was designed so that way you clap near the microphone to activate the, the function, and in this case, the attack. So, pretty much that's the intended method. However, because it's a microphone, it might pick up some outside noise, such as me doing this, or even me just talking. And my preferred way of attacking with the bongos is actually slapping the side of it. Just like that. Much more comfortable than clapping, in my opinion. But try whatever method works for you, and yes, we can fix the microphone sensitivity. Okay? Alright, so, you pause. When you're in a menu, you can use the lower left and lower right buttons to navigate, and the start button to confirm your selection. There is no back button on the bongos, so you will have to navigate to the back button on the menu and press start to go back. Let's take a look at the controls. And these two settings are here, first and foremost, because, well, the microphone is pretty annoying to deal with as the developer of the game. I can tell you that firsthand. So, you can remap the bite move to a button if you want, and you can disable the microphone entirely. And you can also adjust the sensitivity. I believe 0 is the most sensitive, and then the maximum setting, which should be 5, yeah, 0.5, is the least sensitive. So to show you, I'll set it to 0, and then go ahead and see what happens. We should get an auto attack. Okay, not an auto attack, but as you can see, it is far more sensitive. I'm literally just talking, and it's picking up, so you can adjust this. The default was 0.3, but you can crank this all the way up, and of course, disable the microphone if you want. Now, as for the rest of these options here, in Bongo mode, you do have less options since you have less buttons, but this is the default control scheme, which is goofy, and in this control scheme, it is intended that you mash the buttons or tap them repeatedly to perform the movement action. But you can change this to a hold button or tap once. And if you're playing this game on the bongo for a long period of time, your hands might get tired, so I definitely recommend checking out this setting if you're just getting sick of using this controller. You wanted something easier. Just switch it to hold or tap once and see how you like it. And then the last setting is move left and right to jump. I mean, I recommend leaving this enabled on this control scheme since jump button is disabled. So this is the only method to jump in this control scheme. So more often than not, if you're using the bongos, you're probably going to want this enabled anyway, but you can customize that to whatever you want. And we can also switch control scheme presets. And we're only going to be paying attention to the bongo buttons, by the way, because the keyboard might work in bongo mode, but Gamepad definitely doesn't. So in bongo mode, you'll mostly be using these bongo buttons here to control the player, okay? So let's move to the modern control scheme preset, and it is actually the exact same. It's mostly there for Gamepad users, but the same settings are here for Bongo mode. Actually, I don't even think it does anything, but you can still switch it to a hold if you want. And custom is where things get interesting. So, on custom controls, everything is unmapped. There are no mappings at all. And that's because you only have 4 buttons to work with, so you can map the 4 buttons to literally anything here. You also cannot remap the microphone or the start button, so keep that in mind. Now, here is a very common example that I like to show off, okay? I'm going to map move left to the bottom left button, move right to the bottom right button, there we go. That worked. I'll explain that in a second. Anyway. These are the correct buttons, and, well, let's take a look here. You have a jump button, but you can also jump with move left and move right, so I'm going to leave that on. But we can also map a bite button and a dash button, because previously we had 2 dash buttons on the top buttons of the bongos. But we can just map that to 1 button, and then bite button to another button, so we don't have to use the microphone. So I'm going to disable the microphone, and check this out. I'm going to do bite button on the top left and dash button to the top right. And we can, let me see, you can disable the jump button just to be safe. And there we go. We have a custom control scheme that we made for the Bongo controller, where we have a bite button that doesn't use the microphone, and 1 dash button. So let's go ahead and check this out, and I'll even turn my Bongo camera back on so you can see this. Move left and move right does the exact same thing. You could jump, but check this out. The microphone doesn't do anything because we turned it off. So if I press this button, we now get a bite. Just like that. No more microphone nonsense. And then we also have the 1 dash button. And how this works is pretty much how it works in Mega Man, where you dash forward in the direction that you are facing. So right now, I'm facing right. So dash right. And if you want to dash left, you have to turn around first and then dash left. That is the one caveat. But you do have this custom control scheme that we just set up, where we have a bite button and a dash button with no microphone functionality whatsoever. So if you are sick of using the microphone because it's just not good, then you can turn it off completely and make your own control scheme like I just demonstrated here. And a quick side note I forgot to mention, again, is about the menus. I did mention you control the menus with the bottom buttons. However, in the control options, on any option where you can adjust settings like this, you navigate up and down by using, the bottom left button to go up, and the bottom right button to go down. And to adjust the value, you use the top buttons. So the top left button will move left, which doesn't do anything, and then the top right will move right. So here we go. I enabled the setting using this button, and then changed the setting back using this button, and you can see this better with class sensitivity. See? That is how that works, and you can use this for every single menu in the game. Like, my personal favorite example are the video settings. I'm in the editor, so it's going to take a minute to load. But you can literally adjust everything with the bongos, which is such a cool idea, a cool thing that I did. So, try that out if you want to. But yes, you can access and control every menu with the bongo buttons, and they don't change when you customize the buttons, by the way. So it'll, even with our custom controls here, the UI controls are still the same. As you can see in the top left there, the menu controls are constant and they do not change. And would you believe it, guys, there is yet another thing that I forgot to talk about, and that is a little quirk with the button remapping thing, where if you try to remap a button that is already in use, it'll give you an error. So right now, top left is mapped to bite. I'm going to map this to dash left, and it says button is in use already. So if you want to map a button that you already used, just go with the defaults, and it'll basically erase your controls, but you can just remap them and then get the desired control that you want. So if you remap something and you're not happy with how you did it, or maybe it's an accident, just click defaults and you can remap your controls here. No problem. There are also a variety of game options as well if you want to enable some cheats or just mess with some settings. So the left side is going to be game options, which will mess with your in-game stats, like permanent invisibility, dash distance, dash cooldown, unlimited jumps, all these other things. You can even enable hit points as like an extra feature if you want. You don't have to mess with this if you don't want to. You just press defaults and everything will be as it was. You want to play the game as intended, this is how you do it. But if you do want to mess with some settings right at the gate, this is where you do it. And then on the extra options, they are pretty much just extra options that don't necessarily affect the game directly. So big head mode is exactly what you think it is. And then you can turn on the bananas for the fish. And like I said before, if there's something you turned on accident, you didn't mean to, then just press defaults and you're all good. Alright, and with that done, we're going to move on and talk about some general game mechanics. These are fish, the main collectible of the game. When you collect fish, you will earn points. You can also use your bite attack to pick up fish from a distance. In each level, you will find a variety of enemies. You can use your bite attack to defeat the enemies and earn points. Be careful not to touch the enemies, otherwise you will take damage. And if you already have points, when you take damage, you will lose some points. These are blockades. They are large walls that you cannot jump over. You might find some ways to get around them. If you use a jump pad, for example, you can get over them no problem. And speaking of jump pads, they are exactly what you think they are. If you jump on them, they will give you a little boost. Please note that you need to jump while you're on top of the pad, and the jump pad will not automatically boost you in the air. Once you're on top of a pad, jump. Let's talk about the general mechanics and how the game works. Walrus Run is a 2D linear platformer, meaning you have to move from the start to the end of the level. It is a score attack game, meaning your points, depicted in the top left of the screen, are very important. You earn points by collecting fish and defeating enemies. You lose points by taking damage, however there are no health points, meaning you can take as much damage as you want and still complete the entire game. The downside is that you may get a poor rank at the end of the level if you finish the level with a small amount of points and take too much time. At the end of each level, you are graded on your score and your time. Each level has a score par and a time par. If you are under the score par, you can get a D, C, or B rank. You can get an A or S rank by going over the score par, and the opposite is true for the time par. Go under the time par to get high ranks, but if you go over the par, you'll get a bad rank. You will also get point bonuses if you collect all fish, defeat all enemies, and take no damage. All of this is calculated to give you your final rank for the level, displayed in the center of the screen. Other than just getting 100% completion, there are incentives to get high ranks. If you get an A rank or higher on every stage, you will unlock the 3 secret levels. And when all 18 levels are completed, you will unlock New Game Plus in the arcade mode. Arcade mode being the story mode of the game, where you play every level in order, excluding the secret levels. You need to complete a level in arcade mode before it is unlocked in stage select, so you'll be going here when you first start the game. Just press New Game and you're good to go. New Game Plus is the exact same as the regular New Game, but the secret levels are included. What's the point of this? Well, when you complete arcade mode, you will get an arcade rank, which is an overall rank for your run. There are separate ranks for New Game and New Game Plus, so see how well you can do. As a small side note, the rank points are what determine what your arcade rank is. The final rank at the end of each level is what contributes to the rank points. An S rank gives you 4 points, A rank gives 3, B gives 2, C gives 1, and D gives 0. Essentially, you need to get an S rank on every single level in one run to get all possible rank points. Think you're up to the challenge? And a quick tour of the rest of the menus, the guide menu will provide even more details on specific mechanics if you find yourself stuck. This menu is also available in the pause menu. The gallery provides some extra goodies, including a list of loading screen text, a music player, and an art gallery. In each level, you may find a secret painting. Each painting unlocks a new page in the comic The Walrus Epic Backstory, which is the artwork that is displayed in the gallery. Collect all the paintings to find out how the walrus got here. And one last thing I forgot to touch upon was the pause menu. Not too dissimilar from the main menu, except there is a restart menu, and it gives you 3 options to where you can restart from. You can restart from the checkpoint if there is an active checkpoint, meaning you have to cross the checkpoint and make sure you didn't destroy it. So long as you did those 2 things, you can respawn the checkpoint. You can also restart the entire level, and if you really want to, you can restart your entire run in the arcade mode. This will send you all the way back to level 1 and erase all your data for your current arcade run, so make sure you only do this if you really want to reset your entire run. More likely, if you're speedrunning, you can use this option to just reset very quickly. Also, this is only available in arcade mode, meaning if you are playing a level from the stage select, this option is not available. And that was just a small overview of everything that you might encounter in Walrus Run. Like I said in the beginning, I encourage you to just explore the game for yourself and see what you can find out on your own. This is just a small resource to help you get started if you do need some extra help. I appreciate everyone for watching the video. The full game releases very soon on November 5th, so add it to your Steam wishlist if you haven't already. And on November 5th, you can buy the game for $10 USD, so hope to see you on launch day, everybody.